What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 109 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about another Superman book. This is Superman Transformed. So right off the bat, let me go ahead and talk about what everyone hates about this story, or rather, what this story led to. This story led to Superman getting a new look and a new costume and some new powers. This is what he looked like for a little while in the 90s, and pretty much everyone on the planet hated it. Now, I don't have a problem with Superman changing his look and changing his costume. He's pretty much had the same costume since 1938. I think it was time for a little bit of an update. I don't have a problem with the idea of changing his costume. Now, I will go ahead and say, I don't think this is a great look. I don't think this is a great costume. It looks very 1990s, and that's really weird because this was the late 90s. This is something that you would have expected to have seen from an Image Comics character in the early 90s. I don't think this is a good look for Superman, but it also doesn't bother me like it bothers a lot of other people because reading this, it's pretty clear that this was meant to be a temporary change. Kind of like Superior Spider-Man, or when Superman was killed off earlier in the 90s, or when Batman was replaced by Azrael. Those are things that were obviously not meant to be a permanent change for the book. And a lot of people, they reacted to Superman's Blue Lightning look as it was meant to be a permanent thing. And even today, we would still have Superman in the Blue Lightning look. No, that's pretty obviously not what they were doing here. I do like that they were bouncing off of a big DC crossover event that they had shortly before this book happened, which was Final Night. And that's a story where the Sun Eater is trying to eat the sun, and since Superman gets his powers from the sun, that kind of takes away his powers. So when this book starts off, Superman doesn't have his powers anymore, and at first he's kind of trying to figure out, do I want my superpowers back, or do I want to just keep living as Clark Kent? And then pretty quickly he realizes, no, the city still needs him, the world still needs him, so he still needs to be Superman, even though he's having some trouble with his powers. And the big problem with this is that this book is way too long getting to that point. This is like 6 or 8 issues long. I didn't even bother checking how many issues it is, and it takes about that long of Superman bouncing around from a different idea to different idea of maybe this will work in restoring my powers. And it just gets a little bit tedious after a while. Finally, near the very end, he does get his new electric blue powers, and he's able to make himself look like a human being, like whenever he's Clark Kent, and then he's able to make himself look like whatever this is. So there's nothing really bad about this other than it just takes way too long to get to that point. And if you vehemently hate Superman's blue electric look, and I know a lot of people do, then you're obviously not going to want to read this story. Now, the pro of that is that he's not in his blue electric look for about 4/5 of this entire book. But it is all building to him going in that look. But I don't really like the new blue electric look that this book gives us, but at the same time, I don't really hate it like a lot of other people did. I do think that if they were saying, okay, Superman's had the same costume and the same powers for 50 years, we need to shake him up, we need to give him something new, they could have done that. Maybe they could have put a little bit more thought into how he would look, but they could have done it. I just think that they could have made this story be a lot shorter. I think this could have been 3 issues long, and it would have been the same result. You didn't need it to be as long as it is. But overall, I don't hate this as much as I hated Superman the Wedding and Beyond. In fact, I think that these guys changing up Superman's look and giving him some different powers, I actually think that that reinvigorated them a little bit, because I feel like they enjoyed this a little bit more than they have the last few Superman books that I've talked about from these creators. For example, The Trial of Superman and The Death of Clark Kent, those were things where I felt like they were kind of getting burnt out a little bit. This seems to have eased that era of burnout just a little bit. Now, I know that these creators aren't on the Superman books for much longer after this. Not too long after this, the creative teams change, and we get guys like Joe Casey, Joe Kelly, and Jeff Loeb, and they're kind of reinvigorate the Superman titles, and they kind of change everything up a little bit, take things in a new direction. So I know that these creators aren't on the series for much longer after this, but it is good to see that they're getting tired on the Superman books, which I was kind of picking up on around the time of the wedding, that seems to be gone, at least temporarily. So that's about all that I have to say about Superman Transformed. I hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with a different video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of your day. Catch you later.